Hey Tabatha, what are we doing today?
Hey Sharilyn, today we are discussing Booktube Newbie tag.
This will be fun.
Yeah. We wanted to make sure we had enough of a little bit of a backlog so that people can come by and they can see what
we're up to.
Yeah, they can.
What are we about? Chaos.
We feel like we're finally ready to take on Booktube Newbie.
Cheers, besties. All right, Tabatha, first question is why did we start this channel?
Ooh, okay, so we started this channel because we love books. We love talking, we love yapping, we love being a part of a community, so we wanted to join the booktube community. We love watching booktube and we just want to discuss books.
Enough said.
Next question is, what are some fun and unique things that you can add to booktube?
Us. We are the fun and unique things. Our level of chaos. I personally am still new to booktube, but I haven't seen a whole lot of two-person channels.
Right.
So having our two-person dynamic is something that we get to bring to the booktube community, and the conversations that we can have, the banter.
Yes.
All the
we do love our banter.
We do.
I was gonna say fighting, but then I was like, okay, calm down.
Yeah, yes, all of that.
We also really like to gamify things, so we just did our January TBR, which was so much fun.
It was so great.
We've decided, like, going forward, our TBRs are gonna be gamified, and because we're two people, it is more like a traditional game, so we can battle it out.
Competition!
Yes, we love a good competition, and that adds, like, more fun to it. So I think that's something unique that we have as a two-person dynamic.
Yes.
And our own unique perspectives too, because like we're each individuals as well, who have each individually unique perspectives, just like anyone on BookTube is going to have their unique perspectives, so we'll have our unique perspectives to add to the conversation.
Yeah, and it'll be extra interesting when it comes to books that we both read that we have different opinions on.
Which there definitely are some.
There.
For sure.
Don't worry, that is coming.
Yeah, we don't always align 100%, which can lead to some really interesting conversations, so yeah.
Yay. All right, Tabitha, the next question is, what are you most excited for on this new channel?
Fun! Yes, I'm so excited for us to be able to ideate together. I think whenever we come together with ideas, we always end up on such similar pages.
It's
and then we
crazy.
can bounce ideas off, grow each other's ideas, take them to the next level. So I think that's going to be so much fun. Plus doing any kind of community stuff. So like readathons, discussing things with people in the chat. We already had like one like hilarious comment that had us both rolling.
Yes.
So being able to have that aspect as well, building our own community, joining other communities, being really ingrained within the booktube community, I think is the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, definitely all the shenanigans that are coming. And yeah, part of why we started the channel is just the conversations we have fun with, we find intriguing. And so getting to share those with the booktube community is going to be really exciting. But even right before we started filming this, we just chatting got into more and more topics that were like, oh, this would be really, really neat to actually delve into as a video. So getting to plotting. Yeah, really us getting together. You mentioned this, that whenever we get together, all of our ideas just build off each other. And so getting to do this intentionally, frequently, share it with BookTube I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm so looking forward to that.
Yay.
Okay, next question. Why do you love reading?
Ooh. Escapism. To escape reality. That's the biggest thing. Yeah. Oh gosh, I love exploring worlds that people come up with. I love meeting new characters. I love seeing all the different ways you can tell a story. Storytelling specifically, just everyone has their own version of storytelling, and getting to experience those different versions of storytelling is really, I don't know the right word for it, but seeing all sorts of different
Unique perspectives.
Yeah. And I love a good setting, a good atmosphere, and seeing just how many ways you can build a captivating book. And that can be from characters, that can be from story, that can be from plot, that can be from setting, that can be from atmosphere. Like all the different elements that make a book fantastic, intriguing, phenomenal, just devourable. I love experiencing all the different aspects of a book.
Yeah. And you've added audiobooks to that too, so that's even another element.
Yes.
That narrative
that
approach
audible
through
storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. I love exploring. You've mentioned this before, how exploring new different genres is super cool, but also exploring like within one genre and seeing the greatest of the greats. I love making that human connection, because you're always making a human connection when you're reading a book. And then especially when you're sharing it. Like when you're buddy reading, that is like prime to me.
That is so much fun. I love buddy reading.
Yes.
Getting to have that community aspect in reading.
Yes. And then sharing it with you guys is going to be even more fun. Like we get to share it with each other and then share it with you guys, hear your thoughts on it as well. I think that's super cool. Any kind of connection like that. Also just being in the brains of some of these people.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something that you wouldn't have thought of yourself. Like you've mentioned this before to me about someone you could build a nest in. Like who comes up with that idea? I could never think of that. So like it's super cool to be able to see humanity at its peak. Like creating this amazing stuff.
Yes.
I also really like when you think that you don't like something, but then you read it in a different book and you're like, oh this person twisted this to a way where I actually really, really like that. I love being proven wrong. So when I can get that with a book too, that's like such a highlight feeling.
Yeah. All right, next question. What book or series got you into reading?
So for me, there's different levels to this, obviously, because there's different ages that you really feel the impact of reading. So as a kid, I would say like as a teenager, Twilight 100% in middle school. I read for like what I was told to read in school, but then Twilight came and I devoured every single vampire book I could get my greedy little mitts on.
Yeah.
And then as an adult, I slowly petered down to reading like the average amount of books, like 12 books a year. I wasn't reading like that much at all, but I was still actively reading. But then what super drove my reading and what actually drove me to find Booktube was Wheel of Time, because I had really, really enjoyed Wheel of Time, and I was like, okay, someone on YouTube. I actually wasn't even on YouTube that much in general.
Oh yeah.
But then I was like, someone has to be talking about these books, and obviously now I know it's like
everyone
one of the most popular fantasy series of all time.
Yeah.
But I was like, someone has to be discussing these books, and so I found a different channel. I found Daniel Green, and then through there I found so many different booktube channels, and then one of my husband's nieces loved ACOTAR and From Blood and Ash, and so I got more into romantasy and fantasy romance. My reading has just soared from Wheel of Time. Like I went from reading 12 books to 100 and now over 200 a year because of Wheel of Time.
Yes, that's amazing.
What about you?
Oh, so my reading journey has also taken, it's had those levels to it. So I definitely read Twilight in probably middle school, and some of those like YA dystopian series really got me in early high school. I loved Divergent, I read Maze Runner. I never actually read Hunger Games. I do want to read it sometime eventually. I think that's one of those foundation series that's really good to have in your
Repertoire?
It's a really good foundational series to have read. So that was kind of like middle grade, young adult. Then halfway through college, or maybe like toward the end of college, when I started reading for fun again, and I started with one of the Ruth Ware books. I think it was In a Dark, Dark Wood, and that really got me into mysteries, thrillers, murder mysteries. So I was reading those for a long time. And then I got to a point where I was reading too many of those and was getting like paranoid. So I was like, okay, I need to read something else. I need to kind of pivot some other direction. And it took me a little while, but I actually ended up picking up ACOTAR, and that would have been 2 years ago, I think, is when I started that. And that really kicked off my reading journey unintentionally, because it was because I'd read ACOTAR that I actually found the book club that we met in, and then from there just read kind of all sorts of stuff with our book club, and then just more and more that you and some of our other friends were recommending and finding. So
all of your TBR was books from us at one point.
It was just every book on my TBR, every book I was reading was because of you or a couple of our friends.
Yeah, you were like, am I ever gonna just pick a book that I want to read again?
No.
And we were all, no.
I mean, if you have books vetted for you, like that's a pretty great reading experience. So like, why bother? And total tangent, a lot of the books I picked for myself last year were mid. I'm like, maybe I should just stick to the ones you recommend.
So the next question is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? thinking intensifies.
I think the biggest question is just like, how do you balance everything? Yeah, with so many ideas that we've come up with already, we don't want to overwhelm ourselves with everything we want to do and everything we want to read. But at the same time, we want to be intentional. We want to create content regularly. So kind of how do you balance all of your ideas, all of the work that goes into each video, because it's more than just reading a book. There is, you know, getting together and talking and editing. And then on that note, like, how are you ensuring that you always have the best quality? How are you ensuring that you're making content and a finished product that you're proud of?
But maybe not obsessing over it too much to the point of burnout.
Yeah. I don't know, what questions would you have?
I think that's the biggest one, is like, how do you balance putting out the best quality you can with getting videos out as well? Because like there's a point where you have to just release the video. Even with the ones that we've done so far, I've noticed like you could endlessly work on editing. You can improve every single piece of elements, and we have done a lot of improvements so far. But how do you balance that perfectionism with that quality? So like there is a level of quality that we definitely want to achieve, but how do you still release those videos, I guess, when they're not perfect? How do you balance that perfectionism, I guess, would be my biggest question.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, kind of like what is, I guess if you like give yourself a threshold of minimum standards. Yeah.
But yeah, how do you balance that? How do you find that? Because like there's certain ways that you can grow, like better B-roll, better audio, better lighting, every single element.
Yeah.
And you can grow like one thing at a time. Like so far we've been trying really hard to just grow like one element each time at least, and have that be like our slow building blocks. And so is that the key? Just one thing at a time? That's, I guess, would be my conversational question.
Yeah, it's like there's levels.
Yeah. So far, like I can see the next 10 steps for us to improve our quality and everything.
Yeah, especially as we're like beginning there. It's easier to see the field of ways we can improve.
Yeah. Cool. Next question.
So I think we already started touching on this, but next question: what challenges do you think will be the hardest to overcome in starting our new booktube channel?
Definitely battling perfectionism.
Yeah.
There's so many times where I want like just a little bit better and just a little bit better each video. And so balancing that with, it's okay. Like, it's okay. It's good. Your content, like the content, let the content speak for itself.
Yeah.
I think finding that balance is going to be the trickiest for me. What about you?
That's fair. I think for me, the biggest challenge will just be figuring out my reading, because that is still, like, reading at this level, at this volume is still new to me. So prioritizing certain books, and mainly because I'm a slow reader, how do I prioritize like what I want to read, and also what's relevant and what kind of makes sense for us to be talking about, even if I don't feel like reading it. So yeah, I think this might sound silly, but just figuring out what to read.
I think as far as like reading books, I don't want you to ever feel like, because you mentioned that you are a slower reader, I don't want you to feel like you have to read books specifically for content, when we can also make content around what we want to read and find our audience more organically and naturally that way. Like find our audience that matches those books that we want to read.
Yeah.
I think makes more sense.
That's fair.
Than trying to add all of that pressure on yourself and make yourself feel like you have to read a certain thing. I think that's going to help.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So my biggest challenge is figuring out what I want to read.
Next question. When did you start reading? Other than, you know, when you were in elementary school and a whole ass child.
Right? A whole ass child. I think we kind of touched on this with the series and books that got us into reading, but there was definitely a phase in like middle grade, then again in college, but then most recently... It was scary.
It's a package. It's probably books.
Books. The house spoke to us and it scared me. Anyway, so then most recently what got me into reading was ACOTAR. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, actually, exactly from right now, that I started the ACOTAR series. And that's what got me into my current phase of reading.
And it has never stopped since.
Yes. Yeah, I don't foresee my reading ever ending ever again. I'm a reader for life now.
Well, I hope so, because you have
That's kind of the...
You have this channel now.
I'm stuck now.
Until you are in the ground.
Until we die.
Yes. Books, beverages, and besties.
For life.
For life.
Till death do us part.
So for me, this is very similar to the what series got you reading. So just to keep it quick, Wheel of Time most recently was in 2020, 2021, somewhere around there. And then from there, boom, I have not stopped.
Readers for life.
Readers for life.
Greatest of book gang sign.
It's like a lobster.
It's a lobster. Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
That's more crab-like. Anyway, so back to the questions.
Tangent. So, next question. Where do you read?
Here's one place. Welcome to my library. I read here sometimes. Mostly I read from my couch though, because it's a...
This is a couch.
This is also a couch. I mostly read from my downstairs couch in my actual living room, because this is a... I am very lucky and fortunate to have my own library. But yeah, I mostly read from either here, if I want like silence and leave me alone goblin energy, or I read from my couch downstairs in my living room if I want to, you know, be near my husband and let him watch Twitch /
Let him.
whatever while I read or play a game or whatever he's doing. And then also bed, Kindle. Also, I do a lot of audiobooks, so I read in the car, but through audiobooks. Or like walking around the house, cleaning, whatever, also through audiobooks. So everywhere.
Yeah, we don't stop reading. I'm basically the same. I have multiple spots around my house. I listen to audiobooks, so I listen while I'm driving. I'll read from my Kindle or my Kindle app on my phone, wherever I am.
Yep.
So very frequently, if there's a lull, if I could be scrolling, instead of scrolling, I'm reading on my Kindle app. Just anywhere in the world. So
it's great because it's so socially acceptable to just be on your phone.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I saw something the other day. It was like, when did it change from being a well-behaved, quiet child to like pull out your book at a family function, like as a kid? Like that was like a well-behaved, quiet child, and now if you pull out a book at a function, you're like rude and antisocial. I'm like, when was the change? I want to go back. Like, just let me read in peace. I don't want to be here. But yeah, basically, short answer, everywhere.
The next question is, what do you like to read?
Oh, I think at this point, we have mentioned speculative fiction as like the most overarching genre. So a lot within that. Very much on the fantasy train right now. I've been reading a lot of fantasy romance, but I'm kind of wanting to begin switching over to more heavily fantasy, less romance. And then definitely want to get back into my mysteries and thrillers. That has always been a comfort genre for me. Yeah, I think those are kind of my main, but the most broad is speculative fiction for sure.
Yeah. I think the most niche that you're going to end up with is like I feel so strongly that 2025 is going to be your year of like fantasy mysteries combined.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I have a couple on my TBR right now that I'm planning to read this month, and I'm so excited for them. That is like the perfect blend of everything I love. Yay!
And then I also read a lot of speculative fiction. I read mostly fantasy. I did read a lot of fantasy romance last year, which I think I like more of a general fantasy. Like there's general fiction, general fantasy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, besties.